Hey guys, BJ here, back with another Warpforge deck guide for you, and today I want to bring you my very first deck guide for the Astra Militarum. So the faction's only been out a few days. We've not had a lot of time. However, I've already started to learn quite a lot of new lessons, and I think I've found a few pretty good, a few pretty good sort of shells for decks. And today I want to start with the Commissar. So this one I'm calling "Do Your Duty." Now, the first thing that I am already starting to realise is that when you look at the Astra Militarum, a lot of people are going to be thinking, oh, I'm going to do a vehicle deck, or I'm going to do an infantry deck. And what I think is quite clever and what I think is ultimately a good thing about the way they've designed this faction is that I think that the best decks are not going to fall into those categories. I think that a little bit like GSC, the design of the faction is much more effective when you pull together multiple kind of mechanics to form an overall strategy. So it's not as black and white as just saying like a tank deck or an infantry deck. So when I go through this deck list with you now, you're going to kind of see what I mean by that and kind of like how this deck was formed. So let's go through the deck and then we're going to go through some games. Okay, so first of all, the Commissar's ability of course, is he can use duty he can use duty, and duty is a one-off action. It's emptied, and basically what that does is instead of attacking, he can use his duty ability, and his duty ability says give flank to a friendly infantry. That means that the turn we play an infantry unit and if we give it flank, it can either attack or it can cast its duty, because remember, duty is something you do instead of attacking. Now, the brilliant thing with Denkler is that his actual talent then, which costs 2 energy to play, can be cast either on himself or on a different unit. And it says give 2 health to that unit and then reload its duty ability. So quite often what we want to do with Denkler is use that on Denkler to, first of all, heal him, because he's only a 30 health unit. In fact, it's better than heal, it's give 2 health. That means it can go above his starting 30. So this guy could end up with more health than that. And of course, we can then keep reusing duty, which means we can keep flanking units. But also, this can be played on a unit, guys. So you've got to bear in mind, it's not always correct to put it on Denkler. So to just actually put it on, say, an Astropath or something who's already used its duty so that it can use it again, or the Tech-Seer, can often be pretty powerful. The other thing with this ability is you can use it just to give something flank. You don't have to benefit from a duty, like an ogre could come on, and if you really need to remove something, just giving flank as well. So you've got to kind of like get into the complexities and think about the flexibility of the thing itself. Now, when I started to build this deck, I thought, okay, let's start then by saying what are the duty cards that we really want to benefit from, because we can't realistically cast duty on every single, we can't have every single card coming down getting this buff. So we have to choose what we want to put it on. So when I looked through the faction, the first thing that I think is worthy of it is the Flamer Trooper. Now this, even though it's a 3-drop, we're not really looking to play this on 3. And I even thought about only having one of these in the deck at first. But I actually just think this is it's such a good unit, actually. Very, very good into, obviously, things like Sisters or Scarabs and even other infantry guard unit deck lists. So this is a card that we bring on. We can obviously use the duty to immediately get AoE, and we can keep recharging that as well. The next one that I thought was kind of worth it as well is the Astropath. Now, the Astropath is pretty good. It's slow, but it does draw into stratagems. And so, because of the Astropath, we need to think about what stratagems we want to play in the deck. And I'm going to come back to the Astropath. Let's just finish off the duty units. So I've gone for the Cadian Standard, because this guy automatically rallies with a Shock Trooper. So it kind of gives you some go wide, and it gives you a Vanguard. And I think that's pretty good. And then the other thing is that if the bearer survives, or if you want to use your Warlord power to immediately cast duty on this guy, it can give everybody +2 range, which can act like a bit like a Storm of Fire, kind of in the right circumstance. It is situational. That's not something you're going to get every time you play this guy, but it does add a really good option and potential win con to the deck. Next up, I have got the Tech-Priest Enginseer with duty. And so, of course, you think if you're going to play this guy, you need to have the things that can benefit from it, right? So you need to have the vehicles that can benefit from that duty. Remember, Denkler can only give flank to friendly infantry. He can't give it to tanks. So if you're wondering why I've not got a lot of duty-based tanks in this deck, that's why, because it actually doesn't have the synergy we need with Denkler. And last but not least, then, pretty much the only other unit that benefits from Denkler is the Primaris Psyker. Now, the Primaris Psyker is just like a pretty good all-rounder, and he gives you an ability to react quite well in that you can kind of deal damage and then finish a unit off with something else, or you can, if you've got another like mid-sized unit on the board, for example, you can use this guy to put a shield on that mid-sized unit. It trades with the enemy mid-sized unit, and we survive, basically. So the Primaris Psyker is actually decent. It's okay, the stats, especially because it's got the shield. It can be a bit of a problem for the opponent, and it fills out our 5 drops as well. So, as we said, we have got the Tech-Priest, so that means we need some vehicles, and we've also got the Astropath, so we need some stratagems. But we want to avoid vehicles that are playing for duty, because we're not really aligned or synchronizing very well with Denkler's ability, right? So the way I've gone for that is I've gone, right, which vehicles then would I want to play for a win-con? And what I've done is I've gone for 1 Baneblade, 2 Rogal Dorns, because these guys are the ones with Vanguard, so they can come down and really act as a real stopgap for our opponent. And I've also gone 1 of the Leman Russ, because we have got the potential to have a decent infantry board, and then this Leman Russ can get some real good value from pinging 2 damage every time that we attack with our range attack, triggering regiment. Now, because we've got those 4 tanks in the that's the only 4 tanks that we've got, I then went for the Siege Warfare. The Siege Warfare is one of the things that has the synergy with the Astropath. Now you start to see now how this comes into play. What else have we got for the Astropath? Well, we've got the Godspear Warhead. Absolutely broken, amazing AoE clear. What other spells have we got that we could draw from the Astropath? Well, we deliberately avoided some of the cheap ones, but we have got the Summary Execution to give us that all-important removal, hard removal. And of course, why would you leave home without Cadia Stands? So I feel like what we've achieved there is a pretty good synergy between our Warlord's ability, useful duty cards, but then things that benefit from casting that duty from the cards that we chose. Let's take a look at how we filled out the rest of the deck. Now, I then realized that what was important was to fill out the mana curve, and also to make sure if we're having these late game things that we don't get completely overrun. We've only got 30 health, so we need to be quite strong in the early game. And I think that some of the stronger early game, given the fact that we've already decided which duty cards we want, is to actually build something around the regiment package. So in the early game, we've gone for 2 of the Ratlings. We've also gone for 2 of the Faeburns, which are just amazing 1-drops. They fill out your curve. They make it possible to essentially play for free. That's essentially what you're doing with this, and it's a nice target for things like Summary Execution. And then we've gone for the Ratlings and the Kasrkins in the regiment, because they're 2 very early drops that have good health for the mana curve, and they can really help because of their ping damage. They can really help to just win that kind of early tempo trade if we come up against an aggro tempo build. Of course, we stick the Ogryns in to support that, because this is just a fantastically well statted and Vanguard unit protecting our Warlord. And then, of course, I went for the Attilan Rough Riders, because if all else fails and that tempo, we don't draw those early cards, the Rough Rider is a good comeback card, right? So if our opponent plays early units, this guy comes on and basically removes 2. Also really good at like killing a unit and then taking out the Spirit Stone if it's Eldar, or taking out the Remnant if it's Necrons. We've then gone for a Commissar. Now the Commissar is an interesting one, because the idea with the Commissar is he does fill out the curve, and potentially we can make our infantry more survivable. I think it's a flex spot. I think you could basically, in the 5 slot we've got the Bullgryn Bone'ead, so we've got 1 Bonehead which gives us Vanguard and good ability to trade downwards, and I think what you could do is you could play around with that. You could go 2 Commissars, or you could go 2 Boneheads, or you could do what I've done, which is go 1 of each. Now, High Command was the only other spell that I missed out earlier, but of course, the mana cheat is fantastic, and again, another fantastic target for the Astropath. What else have we got to fill out the... what haven't we talked about? Actually, I believe we've talked about everything. So that is the deck, guys. Now what I'm going to do is jump into some games and take a look at how this works in practice. Love the music. Okay, we got Junith. Tier 1 Junith sisters. So we kick in the Psyker here. I think we're actually, because we're going second and we've got the 4 cards, I think we're actually doing a greedy thing in the mulligan here. I think we're actually going to keep the Godspear. Yes, we do. And that's because we're playing against sisters and we're very aware of how easy it is for them to go wide and overwhelm us in the late game. So we make quite a far-reaching decision there in keeping that. I mean, that can cost you, but I only really recommend that if you're going second, you've got the additional card. Okay, so he does the standard opener. What are we going to do to respond? We don't have the 2-drop, but we do have the timely reinforcement. So we're going to play that because we can't afford to wait around against sisters, and we're just going to go ahead and hit Junith so she loses her prayer, and we're actually going to put the 2 health on the shock trooper to try and make this a little bit more survivable. But he has hit his 3-drop. Always scary when you're playing Junith and they hit the 3-drop. Yeah, this is looking pretty tough. This is looking pretty tough, and obviously we've got 2 prayers now that we need to disrupt as well. So we actually go with the Ratling play. And we can see what we were trying to do there, but unfortunately the Ratling ping hit the wrong thing. It hit the worst possible thing out of the 3. So that's not good. And that meant that we went and suffered 2 damage on the comeback, and he did get 1 prey off as well. So not a brilliant turn for us there, to be honest. This thing's doing even more damage. This is a really devastating counter to us, and then he gets the relic off as well. Wow, perfect opening for Junith here. Let's be honest. We went for the 50-50 there. Maybe we should have just attacked face first. Probably would have made more sense, to be honest. And we just heal ourselves. So again, not a very good turn. We completely but we have played the Cadia first now. So every single turn, guys, what's going to happen is we're going to get a shock trooper down at the start of the turn, right? We can always check that by right-clicking, and it tells you there. Cadia Stands, sorry. So here we go. Here comes the shock trooper. We've got 1 praying unit to attack. This guy brings out the shock trooper automatically. So that's pretty cool. And we just attack face just to, again, disrupt the prayer. He's already up to 5 faith, though, so he's already going to be doing a lot of things, but we want to stop the things like the Beacon of Faith and being on full power and other things as well. And already this is getting pretty scary with the go wide, right? He's already starting to kind of take over a little bit, but we have got the Cadia Stands down. That will help us a little bit with keeping up with this. Okay, so we got E6. This is looking like a Flamer Trooper turn, right? If ever I've seen one. So, yeah, so we're going to play the Kasrkin, and we're going to play the Flame Trooper, and now we're going to use the duty from the Commissar on our Flamer, so that our Flamer can automatically AoE the board. Look at that. Nice. And then we're going to attack. Okay, so we can't damage this thing this turn, which is a little bit of a problem because we would have had some pretty amazing things we could do here. But what we decide to do with the 7 health is we decide to actually reload, use the hero power, lead by example, on our Commissar, and basically load the standard bearer that we just played. So he can then basically go off and give everything +2. And that gives us the opportunity to use this turn where we can't trade on the board to just try and like really beat down our opponent. Now it's, again, these pings that we're getting from the Kasrkin, it's a real shame that he's invulnerable, right? Because we'd be putting in quite a lot of damage on that thing. I think that's 3 so far. But I think that was like not a bad line of play given what we had. Now he plays the miraculous feat, and this time he puts that on his Lord. So now his Lord, now Junith is invulnerable for a turn. And he has the perfect answer, which is the Spirit of Martyr. Now, obviously, if he didn't have the Spirit of Martyr, that could have been a little bit of an issue. But he did have it, so he goes off and essentially clears the board and puts a lot of damage on me, and he didn't take any damage on Junith because he put the invulnerable one. So again, he's done things in the right order there. Very clever. Very well played on his part. Now we have turn 8. Obviously, Cadia Stand drops us a shock troop, and we're going to just play out the Primaris Psyker. And also, we're getting a bit conscious about health, so I think we're just going to go ahead and reload our Warlord power and heal Commissar Denkler as well. Now, the Godspear looks pretty good here because you generally want to wait till they do this, till they play like the Beacon or the Conviction turn, because that's where they're using resources, they're trying to get extra value on their units, and the Godspear just does not care at all about any of that. So I believe this is the Godspear Warhead. Look at this animation, boys. Nice. Really nice. Obviously, he refills his board. He has got Junith up to 3 health now as well, which is challenging. And because he gets the prayer on here, he's threatening the 8 faith points, which I don't think there's anything we can do about it. So it does mean that, like, if we put a board down here, if he has the Divine Intervention, he can completely clear the board. We play our 10 drop, and we draw our cards. And again, we deliberately only put 4 tanks into the deck, so we can be pretty confident in the, you know, in what we're going to get from that. Does have St. Catherine. So he heals and obviously gets the armor, making it difficult for us to beat that down. Now, what's he going to do here? Okay, so he decides to clear that. And then basically can't get rid of these 2 beef tanks, so he's going to go and pray. Beef up that way. Now, it's our turn. Obviously, we're trying to calculate damage. He doesn't have any flankers. We've got to get rid of this front bit. And we want these guys to buff. And remember that they do give +1 units to turn with regiment. So we play the Kasrkin, and we play the Rough Rider, because that means we can get an attack with this and get 1 ping off of the Kasrkin, and also trigger the ranged increase on both of the Rogal Dorns. So that was the reason for playing that out. Now we can attack with our Lord to get rid of the shield. And of course, that again buffs both the Rogal Dorns. And so now these guys are absolute beasts. They're up to 13 damage each. So even though he's got the armor on, that's no match for double 13 attack Rogal Dorn. Actually, one's 14, isn't it? Yeah. And boom, we get the victory. So pretty nice game. Bit back and forth. Got to see some of the key combos. And yeah, got to see kind of how this deck all fits together quite nicely in that one. Okay, so next up we have got a mirror match. But again, mirror in the sense that we're playing against the same Warlord, but not in the sense that it's the same deck. Because I think what we're going to find with this faction for a little while is quite a lot of variety. So we're only going to keep 1 of the Rough Riders there. We don't really want to keep hold of the tanks.
We march forward for the Imperium. If you flee, you will die.
Okay, so he plays down the medic and attacks. Interesting. I guess that's because he gets the heal from the medic. Makes sense. Quite a nice little turn 1 interaction there. So we're going to play the Ratling, because the Ratling does say specifically it deals its 1 damage to a random enemy troop. whereas the Kasrkin is any enemy unit. That means we know if we attack with our range that we can kill the medic. That's 100% guaranteed, so that's quite a nice answer for us on the first turn. Okay, he's got the Born Soldier, so he can clear our defense strat unit. And he plays the Vanquisher. So both of us have got some nice early tempo units here battling it out. Now, problem is we got here is we don't have a turn 3 drop. So instead what we do is we attack face, and then we actually just use lead by example just to heal the Ratling. It's not a great turn for us at all. Really sad we didn't have it. If we had an Ogryn there, for example, that would have been an amazing opener. But instead, what he's going to do, he's going to drop his 5-drop Bone'ead and use flank on it. It's something we talked about in the deck guide, that you don't have to use this for duty. You can just use it to give something flank when you need to trade. That's exactly what he just did. So, pretty well played by the opponent there. We're going to use the Rough Rider. What you're looking at here is, have you got the health to attack and it not die? And as long as you have, then you could attack again, basically. And so we choose to finish it. We could have finished that with our Lord and kept that on board, but what's the point? He would have cleared it for 2. And I wanted to keep my health fairly even with his at this stage. So we made that choice. Now he's just played... He also didn't have a very good play there, and I think that can happen. If you play these early tempos and you get traded off, you can end up having nothing to play. We drop the Psyker, don't attack. He drops the Ogryn, and he goes for the flank. Now we're going to go Rough Rider. And this is where the Psyker comes in, right? Because we can actually put shield on the flanker. We're going to heal our Lord. Potentially should have actually put that on the Psyker, right? Because it would have put it up to 7 health, and it would have also given it recharged its ability. So I think we were high enough on health there to have... I think that was a slight misplay, to be honest. Yeah, it was. So we're going to play the Vanquisher. This time we're going to make the Commissar cheaper. And we're going to make use of the Summary Execution on the cheap 1-drop that gave us the tempo. So that helps us kill his big unit. And now it's time to put the damage on, as we got the board advantage. This music, man. Love this music.
Stand fast, not one step back.
Now, I think I might have messed this turn up, if I remember rightly.
Do your duty, or die by my hand. I channel the Emperor's fury.
Okay, so we're going to make the Psyker do his thing. He attacks for 3 damage, and then we can clear. Okay, I didn't mess this turn up, that's fine. And then we put another 5 damage on the Commissars. This game's been a really good one for showing off the Psykers and the flexibility that it can have with the units around it. Drops the Ratling.
One shot should do it.
Summary Execution. Does he get the Psyker? He does, he does. Had a shield and armor on it, so he was quite fortunate to get that one there. Now, there's no point playing the Godspear or the Flamer here, so we go for the Astropath, and we basically make use of reloading our hero power. And yeah, basically, Commissar's down, so we're going to get some armor on the Astropath as well, which will be nice. Let's see what we draw. Oh, lucky, lucky, we draw our Siege Warfare. And again, we've been very specific about which stratagems are in the deck, so and not put too many in. So generally feel like it's got quite a nice synergy, quite a nice balance in this deck. Everything feels like it's working together rather than working at odds with each other, right? It's got that alignment, synergy. And of course, next turn we got the Godspear Warhead, or we can just siege warfare to bring down the big tanks. Because when I say the big tanks, because they've got the regiment ability that every time we attack, we get +2 range. It almost acts like a built-in finisher. So it almost it's almost like having a Storm of Fire built into it as well when you've already got units down on the board. Okay, next up we got Ramatekh. Well, we don't want the Rogal Dorn, so we'll throw those back. We can keep the Astropath.
We march forward for the Imperium. There is no escape. No refuge.
So we use the Vanquisher to actually make the Commissar cheaper, and the reason for that is that we can now play the Commissar on 3, and then if it survives, the Astropath comes down. We automatically we do the duty from Commissar, make it duty, and then obviously it would get the buff from the Commissar. So it's slightly better synergy when you put the Commissar down first. Obviously the Commissar might not survive, but that's fine. We're playing a 4-4 on 3, so... Okay, plays the Divination to put this into stealth. And attacks us. So the Astropath getting the shield now. Going to put it out of range of this killing it, which is quite nice. We decide not to attack because we don't want to give Ramatekh the option to just attack this and then this attack, right? So he has to divert something over here, which he spends his whole turn doing. Got 1 energy left. And we get a bit unfortunate. He's got the 0 cost reanimation protocol, which is perfect for him. This gets back up, this goes into stealth, and he manages to deal with our board. So yeah, a little bit of a deflation term for us. That he just had a good answer. Well played by our opponent. We've got 5 energy. We're going to drop an Ogryn, and we are going to have to attack this and clear. Of course, we can't get rid of the remnant, and we're just going to play a lead by example, both to heal and to get our duty refilled, ready to go for a future turn. Sometimes quite a nice way of using the hero power there, right? It's like we don't need to play duty now, but we got the 2 energy floating, so get it refilled now, and then on a future turn we'd have to spend the 2. We're all locked and loaded and ready to go. Now we're actually going to use our ability here to give the Ogryn flank, just to get rid of that.
Hot shot rifles primed. Kill shots.
So again, another example of sometimes it's using Denkler for flank. It doesn't have to be for duty. This game is about trading the board, right? So quite a good way of using it. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying this, please do consider hitting that thumbs up below and subscribe to the channel. We got tons of Warpforge guides and content, and plenty of beginner guides coming in the next few weeks as well for you all, especially if you are pretty new to the game or looking to start a new faction. Okay, so it's looking a bit dicey, and this is a bit of a slow turn, but I am looking at it and I am kind of going, do you know what? We're at pretty good health. We've got the Godspear in hand, so it's not the end of the world. Now, I'm a little bit sad about this turn, because if you look at the hand, it's like... I'm not quite sure... Right, here we go. So we play this, and do we use lead by example? But there's nothing we can do other than just attack here. There's no way we can buff anything to kill this board. So there was a turn in a minute where I felt a bit sad. Was this the one? I think this is the one. So because of the hand that we've got here, I think because of the hand we've got here, I went with the Godspear. Now, I think I should have been a bit more patient there, and I should have just gone with the Cadian Bearer. Could have even gone with the Summary Execution as well if we wanted, because that was a very premature Godspear, I think. And there we go. Absolute punishment for that premature Godspear. He had Tomb World. So against Necrons in particular, I think that was a definite misplay on my part. I should have been a little bit more patient. The Standard Bearer could have really helped. So yeah, not great at all. Now I've siege warfare there, but actually I could have actually just played the Standard Bearer and healed and then used High Command and then done that. Not really sure why I didn't do that, to be honest. Must have been playing around something. So because we've been very careful with Denkler, not attacking, healing lots, even though he's a 30 health Warlord, it is now E10 and we're on 32 health, which is pretty good.
This is a minor setback. It will not
I think he recognises and concedes. Okay. Last but not least, we've got Orkz. Now, Orkz are obviously have good hard removal, so it can be a bit of a problem for a board building deck like ours. We're going to keep Cadia Stands here, and we're going to keep the Ratling.
We march forward for the Imperium.
For the Imperium!
One shot should do it.
Ogryn on 3. Feels good, man. So he goes off tempo for Tide and Muscle, so that's interesting. It's quite good for us because we can obviously do the same now and play Cadia Stands. We actually don't attack there with the Ogryn, because it means he can't trade. There we go. He uses Hero Power and still can't finish us off. So I think we use the Vanquisher on Dorn. Yeah. I think we actually just use this to heal the Ogre. So again, seeing the flexibility in Denkler's ability. Like, why just die with the Ogre? Why not put up the health? Now, he uses the Extractor Rig, and that means we've probably got Squigbubby coming. There it is. One of the best flankers in the game, boys. Okay. So now we're playing around the AoE, and I think in this sort of situation, it's quite good to kill the actual Squig Buggy rather than the Squig, because the Buggy will blow up first, which means it'll do damage to Zagstruk. And then if he kills the Squig will also then do damage to Zagstruk. Well, it would if it did actual damage and not 0. And never mind, you can't win them all. Slightly awkward turn for us here because we're having to play the Attilan Rough Rider proactively. We didn't have to do that, but I think I decided that I kind of just wanted to put some threat down on the board. But we get punished by the second Squig Buggy. So we're actually going to go with a Tech-Seer.
Blessed is the Omniscire's work.
Arguably, we should have done our attacks first. before doing this. But I think what we're trying to do here really is just give him a distraction, right? Because next turn now, we've got we're starting to get into our pretty potent turns here. Now, we are playing against Orkz. I'm a big Orc player, so all I'm thinking about with this hand is I'm thinking about no mucking about, and I'm thinking about Will of Gork. And as you should be too, if you're playing against Orcs. So that is definitely something we've got to consider. Nice to see the Warbiker used for removal. That's always a win. We actually again take the damage. That was really brave there. I actually think we maybe might have been better just taking out this, if I'm honest with you. So we now use lead by example, but I kind of messed up here. I think I thought I could pray and then make this thing ping, but you can't pray because, I mean, not pray. You can't use duty because you've already attacked. So I think that was a misplay by me that turn, and obviously I got punished. So the whole thing was wrong. I should have attacked the squig, not the squig buggy. So really bad line of play from me there. And yeah, it's kind of put me under a lot of pressure. Now we still haven't seen no mucking about or Will of Gorks, and out comes his second Warbiker. And yeah, he's pretty much like getting close to finisher range. Uses proper killie here, which I find weird. Like, you've attacked once, getting that extra 4 damage down now feels a little bit strange to me. But maybe he's anticipating big vanguards. I don't know. Or even this coming down, that could be it. We're going to drop the Dorn, and we're obviously just focusing on healing at this stage. Now, this sort of board is interesting because if he wants to know mucking about, he really needs to clear this first. As soon as I see him do this with the temper, I'm thinking, yeah, here comes no mucking about. But that would leave him with 3 energy, so he wouldn't really be able to develop much more. So it's not too bad. I mean, obviously very sad that we lose a 9 drop for 4 energy. And now I'm thinking about Will of Gork, right? And this is why I don't go for the Siege Warfare. I actually try to deliberately play out quite a wide board and try and see if we can bait out, heal again, and see if we can bait out the Will of Gork. Because if he hasn't got it, then obviously next turn, we've potentially got lethal here anyway with this type of board state. So he does have to deal with this board, but it also means if he Will of Gorks us, we've then got the Siege Warfare as the backup. There we go. So there comes the Will of Gork. And now we feel a little bit more confident. You could always have the second one, but I always think if that happens, that happens. Like, you know, fair play. It's difficult to really play around that. You know, statistically, it's less likely, isn't it? So that's all you can do. Okay, so obviously Cadia Stands brings us out the Shock Trooper again, and now we go ahead. We get the second Rogal Dorn. Monsieur Baneblade, which comes out next to our Vanguard Infantry, giving it +2 armor, which is nice. So he goes Crump the Gits. Okay. Gonna be a lot of flankers. Oh no, he's got the big flankers. Out comes the Gorka Morka. That will certainly kill a tank. Puts us on to 2 health. But that Baneblade, keeping us vanguarded, saves us and wins the game. Alright, so that's the deck, guys. I think it's, like I say, it's a deck that everything is in there to kind of synergize with each other. It's not just a tank deck, it's not just an infantry deck. It's really making use of the hero power and then, or the Warlord talent, as we call it, sorry, in this game. Hero power is an old Hearthstone kind of hangover. The Warlord talent, and then it's looking at, okay, when we do play duty off of those cards, what then? How do we then benefit? So the whole build is like teched around that. So give it a shot, play some games. Let me know in the comments how you get on, any improvements that you can see here or that you make. I'm certainly not saying it's like a completely perfected deck. I think I'm onto a nice theme here, but it could definitely be tweaked a little bit. So let me know how you get on. Thanks very much for watching. Again, encourage you to support the channel. Follow me on Twitch, follow me on YouTube. Plenty more Warpforge content coming your way. Take it easy, guys.